Hey there, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to another review of another Eddie Murphy film. This time it is Coming to America from 1988. Now, I do like the film. I don't love the film as much as other people do. I know Eddie Murphy's talking about doing a sequel, which I'm not really interested in. I think it's a film that you don't need a sequel to. I mean, the movie, in a way, is a fairy tale where Eddie Murphy's character is an African prince, and his father, the teen, is played by Earl Jones. And Eddie Murphy has to be married to this woman. Eddie Murphy doesn't like that because he wants to find a woman on his own, and he doesn't want a woman that'll just do whatever he tells her to do. He wants a woman who's independent, who is smart, who is funny, who has a mind of her own. So one thing leads to another, and he gets with his buddy, played by Arsenio Hall, to go to America and find his bride. And they go to Manhattan, to New York. More of the Queens, not Manhattan, more of the Queens in New York. They get a piece of shit apartment because he wants to live down low. Arsenio Hall doesn't like that, but Eddie Murphy, he wants to, he doesn't want someone to fall in love with him because of his money, but for himself. They get a job at McDowell's, which is a complete ripoff of McDonald's, and they even make a conversation about that. The owner, John Amos, even mentions how, oh, they have the Golden Arches, we have the Golden Arcs. They have the Big Mac, we have the Big Mick. That's probably one of the funnier parts of the film, the whole rip-off of McDonald's motif. And these two get a job there, and Eddie Murphy sees the daughter of John Amos's character and falls in love with her. Meanwhile, she is with, I cannot believe I forgot his name, from ER. How the hell did I forget his name? I'll look it up real quick. I should remember his name. But he's part of this campaign with the soul glow. Let your soul glow. That commercial was pretty funny. This Jerry Curl with all this shit in it and all this wetness in it. Eric LaSalle, that's the guy I'm thinking of. And there's quite a few familiar people in this. You have not only James Earl Jones as the teen, Eddie Murphy's father, John Amos, but you have Eric LaSalle, who's going to be in, like I said, ER, Frankie Faison, who I remember from The Silence of the Lambs, and he was in Hannibal as well as the character of Barney. Some people don't even know who John Amos is. He was on a TV show called Good Times back in the day, and he's been in quite a few other stuff. I guess maybe most people remember him. He played a really solid character in the Sylvester Stallone film Block Up, which I love. I reviewed that when I did my Stallone marathon. He also had another cool role in Die Hard 2, but that's a fun sequel. I reviewed that when I did my Die Hard movie reviews. Love Die Hard 2. But John Amos was good in that. He was good in Lock Up. Other people may remember him from The Beastmaster. Yeah, his big role was in the TV show Good Times. He does a solid job here. Eric LaSalle. Louis Anderson, who's a comedian, he's there as one of the employees of McDowell's. Samuel Jackson makes a very quick appearance as a guy who decides to rob that place. And Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy stop him. I didn't realize this, but one of the guys, he's a cab driver, is Jake Steinfeld. And for those who don't know, back in the day, there was this fitness thing called Body by Jake, which I remember seeing quite a few times as a kid. Probably not that well known nowadays. And if you're a horror movie fan, he was a star in, what was that fucking movie called? It was like a Thanksgiving horror film. Fuck. Home Sweet Home. A 80s slasher film. I guess he was a personal trainer for Harrison Ford, who trained for Indiana Jones Temple of Doom and The Last Crusade. Did not know that. Jay Steinfeld, he's a cab driver in this. He has no speaking lines, but Cuba Gooding Jr. Has an appearance here as a guy in the barbershop sitting in a chair. Apparently he had lines, but they got cut out. Don Ameche and Ralph Bellamy make an appearance, playing the same roles they played in Trading Places, where they're homeless, and Eddie Murphy's character gives them some money, and they get happy because they have money at the end. And I would say what works is there's a couple of fun moments. The beginning when you show the world that Eddie Murphy's character lives in, this world of luxury where even people wipe his ass for him, people like will bathe him, and a woman rises out of the water and goes, "The royal penis is clean." Arsenio Hall, he does a good job. I like Arsenio. I liked his show. There's not a ton of movies he got to star in, or as big of a role as he had in this movie, but I thought he did a really nice job. He played off Eddie fairly well. I thought the actress who became the love interest, she was sweet. She wasn't a hard ass. She wasn't a likable. The some fun laugh aloud moments are like when he gets to New York and he's yelling and people telling him to shut up and fuck you, and Eddie Murphy's like, yes, fuck you too. But with all that said, like I said, this isn't one of my favorites of his. There are other films that were not as big of a hit as Coming to America that I enjoy much more, like The Golden Child, like Metro. I like Beverly Hills Cop 2 a lot more than this. This is one of those films that anytime someone talks about Eddie Murphy, they talk about 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop, which made sense on those two, Trading Places, Coming to America, and then either like Nutty Professor or Shrek. Like those are the films everyone always talks about. They skip over and ignore Beverly Hills Cop 2, which I think is bullshit. I think it's a damn good sequel, and I just say I like that a lot more than this. They skip over The Golden Child, which I like a lot more than this. They skip over Metro. They skip over. One of my problems with the film is the pacing. This movie's almost 2 hours long, and it feels that. It kind of drags from time to time, and I don't think it's as consistently funny as other people make it out to be. But kind of an issue I had with the John Landis who directed this. He also directed Trading Places, and those are two Eddie Murphy comedies I think are a little bit overrated. Although I would say I enjoyed this more than Trading Places, because this one, I thought Arsenio Hall worked better here than Dan Aykroyd did in Trading Places. And the finale is a little bit of a sweet fairy tale, which is a little bit more interesting than the gorilla wanting to fuck the guy in the gorilla suit or the stock market ending Trading Places. I know John Landis had a tough time working with Eddie Murphy because he worked with him 3 times. Trading Places, which he's like, oh, Eddie Murphy was fine. This one, where apparently Eddie Murphy was the pain in the ass, and by the time the film ended, they hated each other. And then Beverly Hills Cop 3, where John Landis like, it was fine working with Eddie, but he just didn't want to be funny and he had low energy. So, there you go. But I mean, John Landis, there are films of his I enjoy. I'm not sure what my favorite of his would be. I don't mind American Wolf in London. I liked Oscar with Sylvester Stallone quite a bit. But I think the film is a bit too long. This is the big start of Eddie Murphy doing multiple characters in film. Of course, he was doing it on Saturday Night Live. But in film, with the help of Rick Baker, who John Landis do from American Wolf in London, he started playing multiple roles. And I'm sorry, that's a part of Eddie Murphy that I never really cared for. I get that's what he loves. He loves doing that. He loves getting the makeup and playing all these various characters. That's fine, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. It's like there's the phase of his family films where I'm not really a big fan of, and then there's the phase of being in multiple roles, which I'm not a big fan of. Which, of course, he would do more in Vampire in Brooklyn, which is a piece of shit. Night Professor, which I fucking do not like. Night Professor 2 The Trumps, which is even worse. Norbit, which I think is his fucking worst film. Even a bit in Pluto Nash with the twist, oh. But here you either have him playing multiple roles in the barbershop, like all those three people, Eddie's two of them, and Arsenio Hall's the other guy. Or this one, which I didn't care for at all, the sexual chocolate. I know people really enjoy that bit. I just didn't think it was funny. I thought it went on for way too fucking long, and I'm watching this, I'm going, I don't really... I get it. He's in this place, and he's singing this song, and it's an awkward song to be singing for this type of crowd. It just felt like it went on forever, and this is one of those things, like, in the middle, I just fast forward through it. I'm like, I don't want to waste my fucking time with the shit. So I don't care for those bits. Again, it's not as consistently funny as, say, in my opinion, 48 Hours or Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2 or The Golden Child or Metro. And the makeup is good. I'll give credit. Red Baker did a nice job with the makeup. In particular, this character with the glasses, which is Eddie. I give kudos to Rick Baker for his effects. The acting's not the problem. The cast do a good job. I know Eddie Murphy, he was passionate about this. This was a story he came up with. Although there were lawsuits that said maybe he stole it, or maybe people made that up just to get a rich payday, and because they knew Eddie was rich. Who knows the real deal with that? I don't. But the sequel, it seems like it's just going to be a remake of this one, which is, it's a sequel, but it's like the same story. It's like, then why do it? Really? It's one of those things. I don't rewatch this a lot. I at least appreciate the fairy tale aspect. The character Eddie Murphy plays is a sweet character who's wanting to find a woman for the right reasons, the right sort of a little bit of the fish out of water aspect to it. John Amos and his whole McDonald's thing is kind of humorous. Samuel L. Jackson's cameo as the robber I do like. Like I said, Arsenio Hall does a fun job, but again, I can't really say that as I'm watching the film, when you get to like the second half of the movie, I can't remember many lines of dialogue that made me laugh or chuckle or like I really can't. I guess if you really like the multiple character stuff, then that's where we differ. I've never been a fan of Eddie's take on that. I guess to me, I rather prefer Eddie being witty and funny with his dialogue and his attitude and his wisecracks, being a wise ass, than, oh, look how many different characters I can play. Although the barber people were not as annoying as, say, the characters he had in Norbit or the Night Professor. Like these, I can tolerate compared to his future endeavors in that field. So I'll give you that. Although I didn't like this scene here. I know a lot of people like it. I know I'm repeating myself. When I talk about the pacing is a bit long and slow, and people will ask, well, what would you cut out? This is one thing I would cut out, this entire scene. It didn't serve the plot at all. It didn't serve the story at all. I know people love it, so I'm alone in it, but like, that's one of those things I just don't give a shit about. I really don't. I just, it's like, hey, Eddie, he wants to sing, so give him a sequence where he can sing. I don't give a shit. Then there's that fucking funny. But by the end, everything works out, and he gets the girl that he wants, and they get married. James Earl Jones, nice to see him as the king. Really good, solid actor. And some nice production design of the inside of the royal luxury house and setting when they're in Africa. Really shows how rich these people happen to be. I forgot where they said in Africa. I forget where. I think it's a place that doesn't exist. They just made it up. Because I think they did say that in the making of material. Which is sad. I mean, this is a huge hit, so yeah, there's a making of and there's features, but there's no features for 48 hours. Why? Fuck did I know? But this has the coming together of America, where they interview John Landis and some of the production. Then they talk about the costumes. They talk to Rick Baker and making the different faces for Eddie and Arsenio Hall. They talk to the composer, Nile Rodgers, which the score was pretty decent. I'll give you that. So fairly, yeah, I like the music that opens up the film. And I didn't notice anything in the score that was bombastic or out of place or annoying or irritating. So they have an interview with him. A sit down with Eddie and Arsenio, which was like a couple minutes long, was pretty pointless. You could tell probably at this time Eddie was more concerned about partying and going out to clubs than doing movies, which would bite him on the ass on Harlem Nights because he even mentioned afterward, I should pay more attention to directing the film than going out to clubs. So that again, that did hurt him. But at the time, he was the king of the world at the box office. Pretty much all the films he starred in were big hits. This was another huge hit for him. Made a lot of money. I just don't know if Coming to America 2 would be a hit. I mean, if you, what you don't know, you don't release in theaters. I don't know. Coming to America is, I don't know. Maybe they're banking on the nostalgia, I guess. Is it going to be one of those films that don't go to Netflix? Is it going to be one of those films that goes to VOD? Is it? I don't know. Who knows if it's even going to get made? I remember at one point Eddie Murphy was going to voice Hong Kong Phooey, and that was going to be a film. If you don't believe me, look on the internet. That was a thing that was going to happen at one point. So who knows if this will even get made? The sequel. Yeah, maybe they're doing it. I don't know. I'm just sort of winding down, so to speak. I don't know what else to say about this. It's not. I know people love the film. I'm like, I liked it okay. You know, I don't mind the film. I think it's a tad overrated. But yeah, okay. Other than that, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye bye.